in national security space. He has expertise in recruitment marketing and sourcing. He's extremely passionate about social analytics, investigative research, military outreach, sports, and all things cybersecurity. He's also certified in things like OSINT, and there are several certifications he wants to make sure that you all know about. That is the GATE certification, that is the Bellingcat certification, and the Intel techniques. Don't worry, I'm going to put it in the chat, so don't worry about that. He's also UiPath Business Analyst certified and is currently pursuing his MBA in digital marketing. Now, if you happen to be in the Maryland market, Justen is also the SourceCon chapter president. So if you're out there in Maryland, definitely look it up, try to join. You can continue the learning after today. So with that said, I'd like to hand the show over to Justen.
Hey, thanks a lot, Carrie. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up to my little presentation here. And I'll get going here to present. I really appreciate you all just taking the time to come out. Here we go. Entire screen. So just want to show you guys a little bit of my family and kind of just get a better sense of, you know, one of the reasons why I'm presenting today. But I've got two little kids, 4 and 6. As Carrie said, I live in Maryland, 2 dogs, so definitely busy. Been in recruitment for a while. Very passionate about the Ravens, CrossFit, and I started getting into OSINT actually after my Atlanta SourceCon. And, you know, I saw the need for just deeper dive recruitment, especially as it applies to finding and uncovering national security talent. There's another area that I was already interested in, which is disinformation and, you know, misinformation, which had started to propagate, but it wasn't a complete thing. And that kind of led me to looking at, you know, the intersection of, you know, where, you know, OSINT and private investigative work comes in play with, you know, recruitment sourcing and also recruitment marketing and digital marketing. That's, you know, one of my North Stars is not only can we as sourcers make a difference in, you know, just recruiting talent faster and better for our customers, empowering, you know, others within the community, but also be able to, you know, affect society in a positive way and be able to do both, you know, kind of walk and chew gum at the same time. And that's what brought me to really wanting to present this information and bring it to the community. So that brings me to where we are now, which is, you know, kind of the infodemic and our, you know, current state of affairs, right? Probably, you know, we hear of misinformation or disinformation, and, you know, we kind of laugh it off. Oh yeah, it's the, you know, those trolls, those bots or whatever. Really where we're at now in the state of data is, you know, probably around 90% of overall data is new every 6 months. That will eventually get to a point where, you know, it's every couple weeks, probably within the next 2 to 3 years. What does that mean? It means that the infodemic just started. And what that really means is there's a lot of fake stuff out there. There's a lot of misinformation. Obviously, we all get our news, or many of us get our news from our, you know, our news feed and Twitter, and, you know, friends share something or a friend, which is natural. What we're getting to is a point where, you know, it looks like this. These are nodes. This is basically how, you know, bots or fake information can then propagate to bots. And these are all nodes that then just, you know, get shared out. And as you can see, it actually looks really colorful and kind of pretty, but it spreads pretty quickly. It's like wildfire. And, you know, that's a problem. That's a problem for my kids and what their future looks like. So that's why, from a standpoint, from a national security standpoint, but also, from a recruitment standpoint, we really start seeing a weaving of the two. And what we're starting to see is really a point where, disinfo will actually bring us to a juncture where a lot of profiles that we're searching for as recruiters may or may not even be real. We're not completely there yet, but we're moving in that direction on the three major platforms so far. That brings me to why I wanted to bring this in to Tangi and the SourceCon community. Obviously, I feel like as sourcers or recruiters, talent acquisition professionals, we can make a difference. We're naturally inquisitive, we're naturally skeptical. We're already very familiar with social media for the most part. We kind of have to be if we're in this profession. Hopefully, my third bullet is hopefully after I show you some stuff on some of the bot detection tools that I use, and maybe you go and do your own research, that you can not just use these tools to, help better your recruitment process and source folks, but also you can report some things that might look sketchy. Able to inform candidates who may be following them. Obviously, I'll show you how we can do this. Specifically, folks who are like veterans and in our DoD, but these bots, can go and target communities of, single moms or communities of, different backgrounds, and it's equal opportunity scamming. So it's not designated only to people within, the industry of DoD, although military and veterans are targeted quite a bit. One thing with OSINT that, within my industry that I think is really important is OPSEC is not always the best. And some of you maybe aren't in the defense industry may not be familiar with that term, or if you're not in the military, but essentially OPSEC is looking at what you're posting out there as a security cleared or military professional. So for example, on Facebook, you may not want to put, your military occupation or when you're deploying or things of that nature. Well, a lot of that is still posted out there. So although it's great for us as sourcers, because I can go and scrape Facebook and Twitter and find them, I think it's imperative for us who are in the industry or recruiting veterans, when there is information that could be concerning for national security, to let them know, hey, I found you here and you might want to get yourself removed. So yeah, we've recruited them, but they'll also get themselves removed. And in that sense, it actually will make it better for you because they just covered their tracks and went dark, and now you have that candidate. So the next competitor can't get them either. So that's something else you can do by helping cover their tracks, but it also helps them. I think, one thing is being skilled in using OSINT tools to kind of augment our current recruitment stack. So I don't think we need to go away from Seek Out or Hire Tool. I think those are two awesome tools, and I know Seek Out's a sponsor and they're great. But I also think there's certain times where you have those really tough, hard to fill jobs and you got to kind of deep dive. Well, that's when you might want to bring up some of these tool sets, right? So, this is kind of some of the areas that I felt could really help talent acquisition, leveraging OSINT. One is brand intelligence. We don't think of TA as, protecting brand per se. That's more of a communications role. But what we're seeing is the melding of communications, Marcom, cyber, and TA. And really, it's all interweaving. Brand equals revenue for any Fortune 500. And now with, greater transparency, the consumer, and in this case, it's the candidate, can post on, LinkedIn. They could go and post on some other forums. It could be bots propagating some false information. It may not even be a real user. It could be fake users. they can do a lot of damage to a brand pretty darn quick. We have to think of us in TA as, yes, we're going out and recruiting talent, but when we leverage OSINT, we're also protecting the brand of our organizations. I work with cyber communications. If there's things that are out there that possibly could be nefarious, you want to find that, and we probably want to mitigate that. And we'll be seeing more brand intelligence, coming to the forefront as bots and deepfake AI becomes more prevalent. Obviously helping shape competitive intelligence. So if any of you work with like BD teams, proposal teams, if you leverage OSINT in the right way, you can obviously impact directly, how you work with your capture manager and your BD and your proposal folks with some of the right data and information. And some of that competitive intelligence can be used to actually, do talent mapping. It can be used to get, inside intel where maybe your CI group isn't able to do that. Well, you may be able to do that if you do some deeper web searching and things of that nature. Better help candidate communities. So being able to inform them, and this kind of harkens back to my previous slide, but if you get a military veteran and their email has been pawned, or somebody in the intelligence community, and they all don't know when they've been pawned, because it can happen on a daily basis because they're getting attacked, or it could just be a regular candidate, not necessarily somebody in the defense industry, and you can run a search and make sure you inform them that their email has been pawned and here's where it's been pawned.
So Intel Techniques is a good resource if anything OSINT that you're looking for. I actually have bought this book. It's a great resource as well. So he's talking about Pond, a website that you can go to see if you've been hacked and stuff like that. We get him back.
Obviously, uncovering talent that may not have an active social media presence, and I'll get into that more as the three major platforms are becoming more diluted. Better understand how to shape your recruitment outreach, right? Because if you can do deeper dive research, that can inform how you want to outreach, because you may be seeing communications and lingo and things of that nature that you may not see with your regular talent pools you're pulling from job boards or your CRM or ATS. The social analytics data can help shape your discovery call. I think some of our main speakers discussed about discovery calls. Also, one thing I'm really interested in, and I'll show you one tool, but behavioral characteristics, based on social analytics. So like understanding based on how somebody's tweeting, what their psychology is. And I think we're going to see more of this, where you have kind of almost a psychoanalysis based on social analytics, and then allowing that to inform the discovery call, because now what this talent pool, not just what they look like on a resume, but how do they think? What's their mindset? What's their general mood? What do they, so we're taking it to a farther degree with social analytics. It's still in its infancy, but it's getting to a point where, as the AI matures, we'll be able to do behavioral analysis based on social analytics. Obviously, staying situationally aware of industry trends is really important. This can help shape, digital marketing, recruitment marketing. If you can understand, certain goings-ons beyond just the three major platforms, but other smaller platforms, that can help inform like how you spend your digital media money and your dollars. If that's programmatic advertising or direct or mobile ads, shaping some of that through, some deep level research and data mining, you can really do some, get some ROI out of that and allocate your resources appropriately. Be able to understand what like AdWords, SEO should be leveraged. So, this is more recruitment marketing, but that can also shape sourcing strategy, because if you have certain keywords, and you can shape how you want to do your Boolean, or run different X-ray searching, CSEs, things like that. Better control ad spend, I mentioned that, and obviously be able to nurture your town communities better by just kind of keeping a pulse on the market, and really staying deeply embedded in some of these other smaller niche communities. So this is something I pulled related to specifically Twitter. This is actually early on with COVID, but essentially up to 60% of the tweets around COVID-19 were from bots. A lot of those were automated. So most of what we're seeing right now, especially some of the retweeting, is really counter to having people be healthy. And what you end up finding, and I'll show you some examples when we get into it, but just basic hashtags like COVID hoax, 50% of those could be bots just spreading it in different circles. And then that obviously gets spread from Twitter to YouTube to Facebook, or vice versa. So it's not in any one platform. Twitter actually does the best job of trying to remove this stuff. But quite a bit of it is inaccurate, and they target seniors, they target young people. As I said, it's equal opportunity scamming. It's not like they just target one group generally. This is an example of like a false, this is actually a better example. Like this is something, and I think most of us who are, somewhat intelligent know some of this stuff is clearly BS. But for, the average American and folks in other countries as well, it can get fairly sophisticated. And when you get it from a friend, you may question, is it valid? Is it not? It's probably not, because most of a lot of the information coming out right now is false, unfortunately, especially around COVID. So you got to really reference, CDC or NIH, things like that. Here's an example right here. Like there was a conspiracy theory, it was about like SARS, COVID-2 was first identified China in late 2019. There's articles, all types of stuff going on about politics, but COVID has really been the big one. This is another one, which we look at and we're like, this is a joke, but there's people that sign up and pay their life savings, especially seniors, to get the vaccine, and it's not real. And it's a scheme, and they may not even be in the U.S. scamming them. So this is just another example. COVID-19 test does not cost $3,200. This was obviously early on. Now it went from scamming for the test, and now it's shifted to scamming on fake vaccines, which is pretty bad. This is one that kind of like would go viral, about a shark in the street. This is crazy. And then, there's another thing that's pretty big, which is malvertising, which is basically, and this is kind of something that is just coming about, and we're just becoming more aware, but there's actually malware embedded in the ads. So you get targeted with some crazy news story, and there's an ad, and they want you to click it, and then you just installed malware, on your device, a computer or mobile. This time it's mobile. So something we have to also think about. And this is obviously something that's rather new, and it's becoming more malicious, especially because of the propagation of bots. So switching gears to Facebook, Facebook is cool to connect with friends and family. So I know there's positives there, but it does spread fake news faster than any other social website. Great for us in sourcing. Um, I scrape Facebook. I use it from a sourcing perspective, but pretty hard to discern, fake or misinformation. Um, Facebook does have CrowdTangle, which is a tool to verify some of that, but it's still being worked on. Again, Facebook, this is just, one example, but, there's infiltration. Even the FBI talks about this, but there's infiltration from, different groups within, different movements. And again, it's either side, but they remove accounts all the time. It could be groups in order to spread violence. And they try to remove them quicker and quicker, but obviously the AI is faster and can't really keep up. This is yes.
Just real quick, we're getting folks to ask if you could hide the sharing your screen little thing covering. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This was an example, and I actually pulled this locally in my community, but this spread in a lot of places. But it turned out this was a Twitter account tracked back to Europe from a white supremacist group posing as Antifa within the Black Lives Matter movement. And, there's a lot of examples of this. So this is one thing where you got to kind of look at what you see and take it with a grain of salt, because it's not always what we think it is. And that's why there's, moderation tools out there, and Twitter is actually making a real solid attempt to try to be better with some of this, which is thank you, Twitter. But, this is one of the things we're seeing more and more, and then folks think, oh, they're coming to attack us, it's Antifa, and it turns out to not even be real. And in some cases, they're bots, they're not even real users, or if they are a real user, they're posing as somebody they're not. And again, this is equal opportunity scamming. So I think I showed you one side of the BLM movement. Well, this is a conservative platform, Parler.
We know that
folks are all conservatives, and this was heavily targeted on the Parler platform, where they had fake accounts, and they were selling different merchandise, scamming people within that platform. So again, it's not one group or another group. It's equal opportunity scamming, wherever the bots can get you to click, read, share, in order to either sell product, track you, and in many cases, obviously get you to, maybe have a certain emotional reaction one way or another. But this was on Parler, where they posed as certain people. This wasn't actually the folks here. They were being posed as other people. I had 170,000 views, and I think it was like 2 or 3 days. So, I mean, by the time the platform catches up, it's already spread like wildfire. So, I know LinkedIn is not going anywhere. We all use LinkedIn for recruitment, but I will say where Twitter and Facebook go, LinkedIn is going. LinkedIn has prevented, I think it was a little over 19 million fake accounts from being created. There was another 2.1 million in 2019 that they found, but they were already live. So, I don't know, I haven't seen 2020 numbers. But I think any of us who are on LinkedIn can see where, content is moving from professional to more personal, and there's some incendiary things. So it's following the two major platforms. Now that obviously could change, but what that means is there's going to be a lot of folks, especially developers and engineers, who may want to move away from that platform or keep their profile, but be more active on other smaller platforms and other networks, Discord and Stack Overflow and GitHub and some of these other places. So for us as sourcers, we have to go and look in other places. Twitter obviously had a lot of accounts that were deleted. There were mobile towers burned down in the UK because they thought that, there was information spread that the towers were going to rot your brain or something. So they actually had attacks on the towers. I can't, the eroding civility. I think we see that. There is a good tool out there, which by time I want to show you, but it's called Birdwatch, which Twitter launched, and you can use it to actually, do some level of moderation and reporting on it. But this is why we need help. Can we source better using OSINT? Oh yeah, we can, and I'll show you how to do some of that. But I also think we need to report stuff, and just at minimum, if you're not reporting it, just think before you share, because and think before you connect on LinkedIn, especially if you're in roles within the defense industry, because not everything's what it seems. So, we got to be kind of more cognizant of that. This is another reason why we should help. There's around 500 million tweets per day. And, you're talking about a lot of fake news. And again, this was something I pulled like 8 months ago, so I'm sure it's gone up. Social media companies, the platforms themselves, there's no AI out there that's able to effectively, search and scan for fake or false news. It's still done manually right now. Now there are platforms coming up that are going to help with some of this, but it's a problem. So we just have to be really aware of this, and use platforms like Birdwatch and tools out there. This harkens back to what I said before. Stop and think. Investigate the source, which I'm going to show you a little bit of that. Try to find maybe better coverage. So cross-reference, maybe a couple of sources before you just go and share to your buddy or your girlfriend or whoever. And then trace claims, quotes, and media. So, understanding kind of, where the origins are of some of this, I think is really, really, really critical.
Just letting you know you have 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get through. Think about, how you feel about it before you post, and then let me get into here. I'm going to go through this real quick then, so I can at least show one thing. I don't have a ton of time then. That didn't get me into my demo time.
You have to do a presentation in your SourceCon group.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do Maryland. My Maryland SourceCon. Yeah. All right, I'll go right in. So, let me get there.
Hey, Justin, is there any website that you could direct people to if they wanted to get their team trained in OSINT?
I think Intel Techniques is probably the best.
Got it.
Yep.
Miranda, it
All
looks like Greg
Can you
might
see
have.
my screen?
There. Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you see my screen?
We see a hourglass kind of tumbling. Now we see a bunch of bubbles.
All right, sweet. Okay, so this is Hoaxy. I just did, and this is a free service that you all can use. It's an open source tool. You can also use it to data scrape basically any hashtag, any article. So, I can do DOD and find everyone that's basically attached to that hashtag. So I did hashtag COVID hoax, for example, and I can update my scores, and this is pulling basically everyone based on the University of Indiana. And so what you can do here is the blue, green, and yellow are likely real people. The red are definitely bots, and orange are probable bots, right? And you can look at how they interact. You can see kind of who the mama bot is and see what she's posting. You can look at, obviously, I could data scrape all these people, so I could do hashtag DevOps and scrape all of them down, and you can pull them all down into a nice CSV, which you could then go and enrich across,
Nice.
seek out or whatever.
Hoaxy.
So you can obviously use this to easily data scrape, and then you'll know, based on that, okay, I'm pulling out all the ones that aren't real. Now, what I can do is I can also pull out just the red ones, which are the bots, and I can go in and look at some of them. And I don't want to go in and look at anything too incendiary, so I'm not going to go into these profiles because they're probably pretty negative. But they do target folks within our veteran communities and things like that with, negative things.
Bookmarking that.
It
That's
could be
for
about
sure.
women or certain groups or different political folks, whatever. And there's random stuff too. So some bots just try to sell us stuff. But these COVID bots normally are trying to do stuff that's, saying the vaccine's not real and other crazy stuff. So we just have to be aware of kind of what's out there. But obviously I could use this and be stuck in hashtag, it's Army or Army Strong. That could be a good one. You can do DevOps. And this is what, there's 10 other tools I wanted to show. And so you can see how, and when certain political events happen, you can see this change in real time where it becomes 6 bots. Then you check it again when certain things are happening, 20 bots, 30 bots, and then they start connecting and tweeting at different people and connecting with them. And you can see kind of what they're saying.
It kind of reminds me
out
of Maltego.
why they're kind of the methodology and why they're saying it. And then obviously report that to Twitter so that you can, obviously stop that. And if you have people that are being followed, if it's your husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, but obviously beyond that, you could go ahead and, report that and let them know that they might not want to have that person, connected to them. And based on like the size of that, the size of the circle, like that's really like your influencer. So I can find, the influencer just like I could in like follower wonk or something else. I could find somebody who's an influencer within like DevSecOps rather quickly. Sometimes it is a bot that is the influencer. In this case, it looks like this. Paul Picard isn't even a real person, probably. She's posing as a real person. So I'm not going to click that profile, but you can really do some deep level research. There's so much you can do with Twitter. Another one here is Botometer. So Botometer allows you, and I actually talked to Pam before I was doing this, but it allows you to check that user. She told me I could do this, just so you know, so don't get me in trouble. So now I'm checking all of her followers, and I can scrape all this down too. So I'm pulling all of her followers, it's telling me who may be real or not. No, I'm getting a bad connection here.
Botometer.
I just got a bad connection. Let me just see if the friends work better.
All right, and Justin, just so you know,
Yeah.
we're up time. They might get sent back to the next room, but is there any way that folks can get in touch with you with any questions or be able to see you maybe do this again more thoroughly where you might have more time?
Yeah. I think they can connect with me. I'm going to do another on my Maryland SourceCon. I really wanted to show my scope now, which is this right here, and I pulled 180 pages on this person within like 2 minutes, and like everything about him. So I wanted to show, but yeah, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm going to do something in the summer that's probably going to be like an hour, where I'm going to go a little more in depth than I was able to on this session because I had a lot more to show. But I was able to pull all of this using this. This is really a PI tool, but you can use this for recruitment. And obviously, this is everything I have on this person. And I can extract all this and all his friends, colleagues, everything about him. That's one example. And I had about 20 other things probably 30 other things to show here. I feel
they're asking if it's free.
Scope Now is not free. Hoaxy is free, and probably 90% of what I was going to show was free. But I did want to show that because that's something that one thing I wanted to get to for us is we think of ourselves as strictly sorcerers, but if you can do deep level research, you can also do private investigation work. You can help law enforcement. You can help the intelligence community. So these are things we also want to think about is maybe, we can do more than just recruit candidates. I know some of you, I think 60% or so of the people at SourceCon this year, I think Christina said were, new to the community. Think about, getting skills within SourceCon and OSINT, and, maybe you can not just do sourcing, but also look at, helping with some of this investigation work and moderation work, because the social media platforms and law enforcement need this kind of help. One other thing I just want to show real quick,
so they're asking if you have a list of the tools that you wanted to show us as part of your presentation so that they can check them out at home after the session today.
Yeah, I can get a list. It's a lot,
Like it.
So here, this one last thing I just want to show. These are the followers for this Air Force DevSecOps guy, and I'm pulling them down using Twilets, and I pulled down all of them. It's unlimited, so I can literally pull down like 1 million followers or following within seconds. It's way better than Data Miner, in my opinion, because it's made for Twitter. It's actually a tool that more OSINT professionals use than recruitment professionals. So here I got this Air Force guy's information, all of his followers. While we were talking, I just pulled I don't even know.
Data miner is pretty sketchy for Twitter.
I mean, I pulled 49,000. Yeah, I just pulled 1,695 in the 5 seconds we were talking. And then obviously you can enrich that across, other platforms to get their, their LinkedIn, their contact data and all that stuff. And I was going to go into some of that, but there's a lot more here around frameworks that I wanted to show, Fagan Finder. So I understand we got to go to the main stage, but yeah, I'll put a list together. I appreciate everybody joining. I'm sorry I wasn't able to show as much because I didn't have as much time, but check me out in the summer. I'll definitely be promoting through SourceCon channels, and I'll have a little bit more time to go into more detail, and also show a little bit more on Facebook too. So appreciate you guys. All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Take care.
Take care, everyone. See you at the main stage.
Main stage, guys. Take care.
For anyone that's here that's still asking questions, they will email everyone after SourceCon is over with all of the presentations. They have to upload everything, so just keep that in mind, that will be coming to you. It usually comes within a couple of days after SourceCon. Take care, everyone. See you later.
See ya.
That was cool, man. I could tell that he had a lot more to talk about, which that sometimes happens, though. So great job, Justin. It's very informative.